In today's video, I'm going to show you how to install sheathing that you see here in the background on the wall. And if you're new to this channel is all about building your own house and saving a ton of money. So be sure to subscribe to this channel, hit that bell so you get a notification every time I release a new video, and like this video. Alright, so the nails you're going to want to use are these 2 3/8. These happen to be galvanized, but they don't need to be galvanized. It's preferable if they are, but just make sure they're at least 2 3/8, and these are for a nail gun, and they don't have to be pneumatic nails. You can use just regular hammer and nail if you want. Alright, so if you look over here, we went ahead and laid a sheet down where it goes. It's not nailed down yet, so you'll want to come down to your bottom corner of your wall. So this is the bottom plate, and that's the top plate right there. So come down to your bottom corner and get your edge of your OSB sheathing and line it to the corner of this. It also may help if you just take your hand and kind of feel to make sure you're flush on the corners. Alright, so that looks good. Now we're going to take our nail gun and tack a nail right there. Alright, so we got a nail tacked in that corner. Now come down to this other edge and line it up flush with the bottom of the wall. So you're going to move this sheet down to the bottom of this wall. Alright, if you look there, we're flush with the bottom of the wall. Very nice. So now we're going to tack a nail in this corner. Alright, so now we know we're lined up evenly with the bottom of the wall. Now we'll go through and nail this edge off 6 inches apart. Now we just come to the top corner of the wall. So if that was the bottom where we originally nailed, we come up to the top. Now line it up flush with the edge of the wall here. So it needs kicked over a little bit. Alright, so now we're flush at the top corner. Then tack a nail and then nail that top seam off every 6 inches apart. So now we know this wall is setting square because this first piece of sheathing is square. So now we go through and shoot off around the perimeter of the sheathing. So the bottom, the sides, and then the top that we already did. And down this side, every 6 inches apart. Just a little tip. When you come to these edges, sometimes your 2x4 or 2x6, whatever your wall is made of, you have to pull in to make it flush with the edge of your wall. So pull it in, tack a nail, and now it's straight right across here. Alright, so now that we nailed all around the edges, now we're going to go down in the field and nail every 8 inches apart. So each stud that you have, there should be 2 here. So go through every 8 inches apart, nail it off. Come to the next one, every 8 inches apart, nail it off. Alright, so now that sheet is nailed off and that part of the wall is square. So all because we started out square doesn't mean the rest of the wall is square. So you gotta repeat that process on the next sheet. And this next sheet I'm getting ready to put it down is gapped just an 1/8 inch because this sheathing is only 47 7/8 wide. I'm not sure why, to be honest with you. I think for expansion because it's 9-foot sheets, but 8-foot sheets, they're exactly 4 foot wide, so you won't have to gap those at all. So measure before you start installing your sheathing across the whole wall. So I'm going to grab another sheet of sheathing, lay it beside it, gap it the 1/8 inch, and repeat that process. Alright, so if you look here, here's the bottom, and now a row of nails, or one nail would be fine to space it. Just put that in there, push it tight, and then kick it down. Again, if you're using regular 8-foot sheathing, you don't have to gap that at all. But make sure at the manufacturer that's the case and measure accordingly. Alright, so now you know we're gapped an 1/8. Now we tack a nail right there. Alright, so come down to this corner And since the other corner's locked, we just get this flush. All right, this side's flush, tack a nail. Or just like earlier in this video, nail it off every 6 inches, then move up to the other side. All right, so I'm gonna take my rack of nails, push in, put in there, come to this side, push it tight, nice 1/8 inch gap. Go ahead and nail across this top, every 6 inches. All right, check out that 1/8 inch seam. You see there, we got an 1/8. It runs that nice true 1/8 inch all the way down. So now we know we're setting square with this other sheet, and our wall's setting nice and square so far. Now we move on to the next sheet and repeat the process until we get to the end of the wall, and I'll show you what you do when you get to the end of the wall. A detail I wanted to show you when you're nailing these edges off is when you hold your nail gun, or even if you're using the regular hammer nail, instead of going straight down, because you might veer off this way and it shoot over the stud under the wall, you want to make sure there's a slight angle towards the stud. So that way, when you shoot on a slight angle, you're almost guaranteed to hit that stud. And if you're angled this way, you could just veer off the stud and go into the wall, then you'll see them stick through. So again, try to go straight down or slightly angled towards the stud. Make sure, just like all your other edges, you come up about a 1/2 inch or so and nail every 6 inches apart. Find the edge of your window and nail down that, come across your windowsill. All right, so we gotta cut this sheet laying here behind me 3 foot 9 inches. So I measured the end of the wall, and that's how big of a piece I need to finish up. So the best thing to do is whatever side you're going to be cutting, the smallest side, hang over an edge like this, so that way you can just cut straight over without worrying about hitting the floor. Or if that's not an option, to have a ledge to cut over, grab a 2x4. You can lift up your wall, slide it under, then set it back down. And just make sure your blade on your saw is not set real deep, and no more than 1.5 inches, and you can cut through there without having to have an edge to lay over. Let me show you. All right, so we put a board under it so we don't cut all the way through, but we're cutting over an edge anyways. So all you gotta do is take your tape measure, measure 3 foot 9 on one edge, then go down to the other edge, measure up 3 foot 9 off the same edge, make another mark. And how I would typically make a line from mark to mark to give me a straight line, I'd use a chalk box, but in case you don't have a chalk box, you can just get a straight 2x4 and lay it from mark to mark that you just made. So we'll line it up with the mark down there. And then the mark that you made initially, then just scribe a line. So we got our line scribed, and now you just got to take your skill saw and cut down that line. And that's a whole other video. And just to give you a tip, just take the V in your saw, that's the center mark for whatever saw you're using, and just walk along the top and cut it that way. That's our 3 foot 9 inch piece. And then be sure to keep your scrap. You're bound to need it on some other wall. All right, guys, thanks a lot for watching. I hope you learned something. Be sure to subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Peace. So that way I know my work from that sheathing. Ready? Hit that bell so you need to get in there.